Recently, I started getting into anime. By that, I mean I really got into anime. I started watching anime in June 2020 and I've watched a bunch of shows since. Started reading manga, got merch of my favorite characters. It's basically become my personality. It's all because of one show. Rent a Girlfriend. It was the catalyst for the downward spiral into weebdom. I can't believe I just said that. But there's a point to that story. With all the time we spent indoors, I wanted to use that time to pick up new hobbies. I started streaming and making videos, learning basics of piano. I just wanted to learn. Drawing was something I was terrible at. I never doodled. The best thing I could draw was that S thing we'd make in middle school, and stars because they were easy. I wanted to improve at drawing, particularly in an anime style. But how do I teach myself? Hey, if this is our first time meeting, my name is Kaye. Before this video, I had no idea what I want my content to be like. I just wanted to use the knowledge I picked up in film school for something. So, if you liked this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future uploads. I had a lot of fun with this, and I plan on releasing more content like this when I finish other 30-day challenges. Also, if you've done something like this before, leave a comment below and let me know what you did. I would love to hear your stories on how it went. Also, you could catch the progression live for these on Twitch, where I have a cool community who enjoy learning and hanging out. Enjoy the rest of the video. So the stage was set. I was determined to learn how to draw. I was telling myself for months I wanted to do this, but I didn't know how to start. Just like most things, set a goal and put something on the line, and in this case, my wallet. I impulsively purchased a drawing tablet, so now there was no going back. I got the XP Pen Artist 12 Pro. Next was planning on how I would do this. From experience, the early stages of learning show the most dramatic improvement. So I figured I'd set a rational time span and use a constant variable in order to show the progress. 30 days seemed like a good time span, and with Rent a Girlfriend being the show that inadvertently took me down the rabbit hole of anime, I made the best girl, Mizuhara, the constant. The idea was to draw Mizuhara on day 1 to see where I'm at currently, and then after 30 days of learning, I draw her again. Now to fill the middle with lessons that will slowly increase in difficulty and build upon the previous assessments. Enter the schedule. Before we talk about the first day, I wanted to add a few disclaimers. I have no knowledge on the proper steps to learning to draw, so this curriculum is far from ideal. I just wanted to aim towards my end goal and created the schedule to my liking. If you could afford classes, it'll surely be more beneficial, but at the same time, you can learn with tutorials and guides. Whatever makes you comfortable. Nothing can be mastered in 30 days, but with practice over time, you can improve at anything. Setting small goals can lead to achieving long-term ones. So set checkpoints and go headfirst into the unknown. You never know what you can do. In the future, I could use this developing skill for graphic design, making a comic or manga, or creating cleaner storyboards for when I'm in pre-production for my short films. Secondly, don't claim anyone else's art as your own. During the course of this challenge, I used reference images and even traced in one case. If I didn't make it, I will not take credit for it. Lastly, I'm not going to go into great detail on every day. I know we just want to get this show moving, so I will highlight things that I want to talk about. Every day of this challenge was impactful in some way, some greater than others. Now let's talk about day 1. Just like I expected. It was horrible. At this point, I had watched a few videos from Mikey Mega Mega and sat in on Momika's art streams, but all I wanted was a completed piece. I must give myself some credit. I put the body parts where they needed to be with the help of a skeleton, but besides that, I didn't make a single sketch, just dove right in. I even colored the face before continuing with the body. To just point out a few things, to make the eyes, I copied and pasted, then flipped the copied one in order to make them symmetrical. Good idea, but bad execution. I didn't follow through on lines either, and instead lifted my pen to continue the line, and it made the lines look very choppy and gross. I had no idea how to properly shade, nor did I know how to use this program, so I ended up using the modes, and that failed miserably. Final thoughts after day 1, it was just the beginning, and of course it's bad. No one likes their first piece. Now I have something I can look back on in order to improve. Day 1 complete. Days 2 and 3 were fairly simple. Everything is made up of shapes, and that's where this journey begins. Practicing shapes. Day 4 was interesting, however. I wouldn't know it yet, but shading would be one of my favorite things to do despite being bad at it. I stumbled across this video by Rapid Fire Art that did a great job teaching shading and application. Shading the apple was a great exercise, and I seriously recommend you check out the video if you are wanting to learn the basics of shading. This is one of those times that I use something off the internet. I use this image as a coloring book. The original is, hold on. I can't find the original! I had all my sources written down. Abort! Abort! You saw this finished project, okay? The coloring was easy, but this was the first instance of the shading coming to bite me. Moving on! What I feared has finally arrived. Drawing an actual body. I'd used 2 different guides to try to find a method I liked. The first method was more of a copy me approach. I didn't like that so much, but it led me to find that illustrators really think about everything when planning their work. The second method provided a layout, and it was my job to fill it in. They had me use equal head heights to identify the size of each body part. I don't think either worked for me, and I started to worry. If I can't manage to get this right, how will I make it to the end of this journey? This is the bare bones step in order to plan out my drawing, and if this is a mess, wouldn't everything that followed just be wrong?
A few moments later.
I was discouraged, but I came back a few hours later after calming down and tried again. I followed this video by Mark Brunnett, and even though he was going very fast, I think I had a better understanding. What had changed my view on this exercise was that his skeleton differed from his end result. This is just a skeleton, and it'll go through changes up until it's ready to be outlined. However, it doesn't mean what I draw was any good. It just needs work, and a lot of it. With this newfound confidence, I head right into the next day, strong and optimistic. That being drawing the head. This is Seiyu. She's from the anime Hige Hyro. It's about a girl who runs away from home and a stranger offers for her to stay with him. The show was just airing at the time and it was phenomenal. On day 9, I traced a full art of her from the manga. I feel tracing made for good practice as I could figure out the intent of each line, from the wrinkles and seams in her clothing to the parts in her hair. Speaking of hair, at this point I was afraid of drawing hair. Hair, eyes, and clothes, they all seem so difficult. But hair especially, the flow of it and how the hair rests on the shoulders, the consistency, the motion, the things that you have to put into account when drawing hair just made me hesitant. This exercise made this clear as day. Comparing my trace to the actual drawing showed my sloppy lines, but that's okay. It's a learning experience. Plus, after I traced it, I got to color it in. I made a huge mistake. What part of me said, hey, you should try to draw yourself, it'll be fun? In practice, it makes sense, using a reference image and being able to identify shapes and placements. But why choose my face? It was such a jump from tracing to actually drawing an unrecognizable face. I could have chosen my friend, a face I see every day, but no, I chose a face I only see in a mirror. At this point, I don't even know if this was accurate or not. The ears seem too small and the nose is so flared. The eyes look decent, but everything else was a mess. Still, we aren't here to nitpick my facial features. We are here to practice drawing, and for a little over a week into this challenge, I'm already seeing improvements. This was the best attempt up to this point. I must have woken up this morning with a Kamui fabric attached to my sleeve because I was feeling optimistic. My goal for the day was a culmination of the past few days combined, featuring heads and faces. But this time we include hair. Ooh, scary. I really like Ryuko from Kill la Kill's design, and I decided to draw her. The art style of Kill la Kill really made this a whole lot easier because the outline of the characters are noticeable and the designs are simplistic enough. Once I added color, I realized how good it looked. The hair came out great, the mouth and the nose fit the aesthetic, and the eyes were not copy and pasted. I was so proud of what I had done that I made it an emote so Twitch subs can use it and I could see it all the time, like getting a souvenir to remember the experience. Day 12 was supposed to be practice for drawing clothes, but I had an extra challenge. Since I was feeling all high and mighty after day 11, I wanted to add personality. It's better to start implementing this sooner than later. As a storyteller, I try to think of all motives for a character and give them backing to their action. That goes from what clothes they wear to their posture. I decided I wanted to cheap out on drawing arms, so I went with long sleeves. When I think of long sleeves, I think of a shy character or someone who keeps to themselves, which led me to this pose. Having my character put her hands near her chest makes me think she is putting herself in an uncomfortable situation, but she's trying. There are multiple interpretations, like I could see her being in love or cherishing a memory, but I'm gonna go with my reason, okay? After thinking of the character's basic backstory, I had to think of a design. I used Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim and Allison Reynolds from The Breakfast Club as inspirations, although you could clearly see more of the Ramona Flowers than Allison Reynolds. This was a successful attempt in my book. Her hands are a little small, but I tried. This was my first time trying to draw hands, and I spent a good amount of time on them. The hair came out great, and I love the color scheme, the earthy green to the midnight blue. It looks really good.
Best of luck, Blue Satire. Here's a digital handshake, a gentleman's pound.
I held a Smash Bros. Pictionary event with a few other streamers, and well, you could see how that went in a different video. I didn't get around to editing the final round because I was editing this video right here. But here's a clip, and hopefully at some point I have the energy to edit the final round and release that video. Until then, here you go.
And this is anything like moves, characters,
Anything.
stuff in the game?
Anything in the game.
Mew.
Yes.
Mew.
That is 1 point. Songko.
I'm already halfway there! Halfway there! Halfway there! Halfway there!
I did not use this day wisely. I had just received my first vaccine shot. I was sore, irritable, and got major headaches. I chose to just research more about Clip Studio. I got some new tools from the community tab, I learned more about the value of modes, and watched some drawing time-lapse to get a better understanding of the drawing process. This gave me a chance to reflect on my progress. I looked over all my previous drawings and I was blinded by ignorance. I thought everything I drew was amazing. It was amazing because I drew it, but when we talk about quality, a lot stuck out. In comparison to professional artists and manga creators and just hobbyists, my work had flaws. I had no style, no order. When I drew, I had no guide or direction. Why were my outlines so present? I could see the strokes in my shades. It had no life. I finally experienced the pain of knowing. It's been 15 days and I've learned so much, but the amount I learned brought me down to earth. The high that I received on day 11 when I drew Ryuko had faded, and just like SpongeBob, I hit a brick wall. Right now, I have a picture of Rin from the Fate series on screen. This is the midterm. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I didn't take a day off and I stuck to my schedule. I had to improvise a little bit. After taking about 3 days to recollect myself from my artistic breakdown, I approached a difficult challenge. I gave myself no artistic freedom. I wanted to replicate that image of Rin to a T. I did not pick this character, my chat did, and you know what? It didn't go half bad. Let's play a game called Picking Apart Kaye's Drawing. The right side of the head looks like a fruit roll-up flattened out. My assumption is that this could have been avoided if I flipped my drawing to check if things are even, but I didn't do that once. I don't think you could call these bangs, they're something else. I'm noticing this now, but her body angle doesn't make sense. You don't see her side, but it looks like she needs to see a chiropractor. It goes backbone, the twist of Stretch Armstrong, then hip. The shadows don't look the most natural, but the lighting on the skirt looks really nice. The hands. I will never be able to do this again, but oh my god, do they look good! As you may have noticed, I was being very critical of my midway drawing, especially in terms of outcome and not process. After all, I am learning. So why was I judging the product and not trying to correct things? The answer is simple. I had what I wanted my result to be right in front of me. I limited myself to my reference image and it didn't come out the way it should have. Here we are, 4 days later. Day 21's task was drawing the side view, and I had an idea. This was the first time since day 12 that I felt inspired. My idea was to have a girl watching a movie in the dark. Nothing too fancy, but the scene was set. Overall, this took about 6.5 hours to do, and here's how it went. I first planned a pose. I wanted her to be comfy, so I had her legs close to her body and her arms on her knees. This would change, but it was a start. Then I started the sketch. Drawing the face was a pain, mainly the nose and the mouth. Drawing the indentations and forms took me a few tries, but I eventually got somewhat close. From there, I began working on the torso, and I must admit, she has pristine posture. And this is where I start to change the pose. I was unable to wrap my brain around one leg hiding behind the other, so I had it extended further out. This could have been prevented had I finished drawing the body first. It works out for the better because by stretching her leg out, I was able to fill up more space on my canvas, and that always looks better. I was afraid I would forget the shoulders. It seems like an outlandish thing, like, how can you forget the shoulders? But you have to remember, it's me we're talking about. Anything is possible. That far leg went from 90 degrees to 45 degrees, and now it's a flat 180. I'm gonna skip over the line art and just jump into the clothes. To make this drawing scream comfy, we went with long thigh-high socks, crop top tee, and so these hands are super tiny. That's what I get for zooming in when drawing and not looking at the bigger. So you were probably wondering why her skin is blue. I tried creating the lighting effect with a light blue color instead of using a natural tone. I realized that didn't really work so well, so I unblued it when I was shading and lighting. I'm really happy with how this went despite the results. Putting the pieces together and staying organized made for fun practice. Just in case I have a family member viewing this or you are a youngin', I'm just gonna leave this here. I didn't complete this because it was awful. If you didn't already know, my favorite game is Xenoblade 2. When I was thinking of ideas for perspective, I thought of one thing, and one thing alone. How can I pass this up? The view from the lap is a perfect chance to draw perspective. Besides, I need redemption. If you haven't seen the Pictionary video, I tried to draw Pyra from memory, and well, it didn't go as planned. I'm not even looking up a picture of this character. That should give you some, that should show some confidence.
Oh, that's a little hint for us, huh?
I mean, it's gonna be covered, it's just how it goes. I should have looked up a picture. I'm looking up a picture, I have 30 seconds. No, I don't have time! I don't know where to look!
Oh my god.
Hands lost 3-0. No, none of us got points, including the host.
Creepy.
I think you get the point. I'm glad I learned what a sketch is, because this drawing went through a few changes. The initial sketch showed more of her abdomen and her arms. This didn't make sense for the viewer's position. It made it look like you were seeing her from a fisheye lens with no curving focus point. Her head was also smaller at the time. This made her look further away and the scene less intimate. By making it larger, it felt more accurate, and it filled the frame and helped the composition tremendously. Making the sketch made my job for the line art so much easier. For the first time, I used full brush strokes, and Control Z became my best friend. Having the sketch to turn to really helped complete my lines and the drawing. The hair looked neat, the face looked like a face, and the body looked normal? I'll say proportionally correct for the character. Next came color, and I'm so glad the eyedropper tool exists. I used that to gather her colors, and then I slightly adjusted them for my drawing. This part also includes two of my biggest drawing accomplishments to date, starting with the mesh. The mesh between her chest is a reflective material and is made of small octagons. At first, I was going to cross-hatch the mesh, but found that difficult, so instead I used an airbrush tool and used black for the base and sprinkled a deep blue and red on top. The next achievement was the eyes. Thank you, Emily in chat, for informing me of this amazing thing called the Gaussian blur. Emily actually gave me a step-by-step guide on how to make the eyes, and wow did they come out amazing. The last thing I did was add shading and lighting for her metallic armor, and the drawing was complete. We are about 30 minutes into this video with a lot of time left. Is now a proper time to throw in an ad? For day 24, I had to draw an original Pokemon. This is Tabath, the clean Fakemon. Tabath is a water ghost type. They are typically created when you electrify a spirit in a porcelain tub. Once they become a Tabath, their only objective is to clean dirty bodies and souls. They do this with the help of Smashersoap. Smashersoap is a fun way to smell like your favorite fighter. In reference to this video alone, you have Xenoflame and the other girl, and Thunder Rat. My personal favorite is Spicy Sword Boy, which smells like citrus. Look at Pichu getting clean in the tub. Pichu's gonna smell fantastic after they use Smashersoap. Whether you get a set of 4 or just 1, you can use code KROSE at checkout for 10% off your purchase. Link in the description. Remember earlier when I tried to draw myself? Day 10 or something like that? So why did I plan to do this twice? Luckily, I don't need to draw myself for this one. Instead, I am drawing a reference image for a VTuber I want commissioned for myself. I wanted to make it a gender ambiguous design, and I wanted my character to be from the Xenoblade universe. I think you are seeing the trend of how much I enjoy this game. It never really got past the sketch phase, as it didn't look the greatest. At least I didn't like how it looked. I spent so long conceptualizing it that when it came time to draw it, it didn't live up to my expectations. Okay, I have something to admit. I can't count. Day 26, it doesn't exist. To follow up from that confession, I also cheated. It took me 3 days to draw the final project of this challenge. I wanted to take it seriously, so day 27 was the sketch, day 28 was the line art, and day 29 was the color. Day 30 was finishing touches. But as the saying goes, cheaters never win. I'd be lying if I said I didn't cry trying to finish this project. Look no further than the sketch day. I went in without a mic, and this is how I started stream. I ended stream. I thought if I hit go live I'd be hit by inspiration. Instead, I just paced in thought. I spent so long thinking, I ended up doing nothing. Before I started stream the next day, I doodled some ideas of poses based on the mangaka's art, and yet, I still went in a different direction. I liked the one with her hand sticking out, so I chose to recreate that. I wanted Mizuhara to congratulate me on completing this venture. A modest thumbs up and smile would do the trick. But does she really feel comfortable giving me a thumbs up? Do I deserve it? I've struggled just to improve. For this being the final project, I wanted this to be the best work to date. And I saw it being drawn. As I looked at the sketch's completion, I broke. One sketch wouldn't be enough. Now we are getting somewhere. We have ourselves a proper sketch. With the help of movie magic, we can skip the repetitive process and there's our line art. And again, there we have it. It's colored. It's only fair that I show you the final result without showing the process. It was mundane and uninteresting, and you've gotten this far, so it's just best that I show you. It's crazy to see the change. I like to say it was a massive improvement. Despite all the struggles and not having trustworthy guidance, with only research and observation could I learn and develop this skill. No, it doesn't look like the greatest thing ever, but that's not the point. The point was to take a chance on learning new things. If there is something you want to do research and practice. If you want to learn an instrument, if you want to build something, if you want to conquer the entire tri-state area, you could do it all on your own. The internet is a powerful tool, and you have the drive and time to put effort into something, you will eventually get better. Thank you to everyone who helped me and was there for this process. I also want to thank the person who showed me Rent a Girlfriend, because if they hadn't told me about it, I wouldn't have eventually taken on this challenge. And thank you for watching this video. Filmmaking was once my passion, and editing was my weak point. By making this video has regained my love for storytelling and increased my desire to build my editing skill. This wasn't the best told story, but now I know what to improve upon for the next one. Currently, I'm working on making an EP, so look forward to that video in the coming months. Last thing depends on the reception of this video. If you would be interested in getting a small poster or a shirt with the final drawing on it, leave a comment below. It would be a commemoration for the journey and a metaphor to keep trying. Until next time, have a good one and keep learning.